Everyone in the shelter celebrates that news with great excitement. The children are also happy to realize they are winning the fight. Very curious. Anchul starts walking to try to see what was happening. The employee stops him from going outside, informing him that it was extremely dangerous. Before she could grab the boy, he starts running. Soon after, another Karhan is eliminated by the group. Now only 3 were left. The 2 men hug and celebrate the victory while noticing messages from countless people around the world. They discuss the efficiency of the Taebaek Guild and also question the identity of the rookie. For almost an hour, he had the power to hold off the 5 monsters. Anchul approaches the men and informs them that the hunter was his older brother. The boy was extremely proud to see all of Choi Jun-hyuk's abilities. Outside, it was already night, and everything was darker with street lamps illuminating the roads. The war was still not over, and the warrior was running everywhere holding his shield. With a jump, he tries to divert the Karhan's attention. His weapon transforms into something sharp enough to completely finish off the abomination. After 7 hours since the start of the fight, everything had finally ended. Meanwhile, Jun-hyuk realizes that he was extremely tired. Now he could rest, feeling as if he would collapse at any moment. Daesu thanks the boy for the great work he had done. Choosing his words carefully, he asks the young man something unusual. The guildmaster wanted to know if Jun-hyuk was the first awakener who recently received a C-rank classification. At that moment, the protagonist pulls himself together, realizing this was a serious conversation. In the end, the man questions whether the young man could be somehow irregular. The protagonist seems confused by that question. Suddenly, a voice calls for the brother. People leave the shelter, including his siblings and the employee. Noticing the presence of his family, he calls out to them. The children run toward their brother, safe and sound from any danger. They share a warm hug after all the desperation they had gone through. Jun-hyuk seems proud of his younger siblings, who behaved perfectly. At that moment, Daesu receives privileged information about the boy. However, there was nothing suspicious in the research. Meanwhile, the hero puts the problems aside, enjoying the moment of joy. Before going home, they would stop to buy some chicken. Anchul seemed excited, but Yeonjung wanted to eat something different. In the end, Jun-hyuk said they could eat whatever they wanted. Suddenly, the presence of the employee who had been observing the whole scene. The woman thanks him for the hard work and for protecting her and all her colleagues. However, the hero says that he should be the one thanking her for taking care of his siblings. In a surprising act, the woman hugs him. Tears stream down her face as she becomes increasingly grateful for his actions. Choi Jun-hyuk's face turns red with embarrassment. Shortly after, all the residents noticed the presence of the famous transition hunter. The comments stated how handsome and truly charming he was in person. People begin pushing to get close and thank the hero who saved everyone in the city. Even so, he didn't seem to understand how everyone knew his identity. The sky full of clouds shows a peaceful day ahead. Inside the office, the television displayed the main news from Seoul, including the appearance of the 5 S-rank monsters. The report shows the team that defended the city and also mentions Choi Jun-hyuk. In the end, they announced that his ranking was given unanimously with the highest score by the judges. Suddenly, the president of the association appears to bother the new celebrity. However, the warrior didn't like that kind of joke and asks not to be teased. The man asks with a bit of curiosity if the young man was busy dealing with the fame from the gate incident. Since that morning, he had been receiving calls from people trying to recruit him, but the association had already handled everything. The boy could contact the president if necessary due to the torment caused by the battle. Changing the subject, the man informs him that the government and several authorities were saying the young man was irregular. Apparently, they had something that broke the conventional ranking rules. However, they were considered a type of mutant not stronger than an S rank. Choi Jun-hyuk asks if he would have to register. The best thing to do would be to register in the United States to receive government support. Many had applied as irregulars, but only 3 had managed to be officially registered. Furthermore, the whole process wouldn't be easy, and with 2 siblings to care for, leaving Korea wasn't an easy decision. Now the 2 could discuss the contract with the association, which would increase the support given to Choi Jun-hyuk. Since the last contract was written with the perspective of him being a rookie, the association decided to propose terms suited for an irregular. Confused, the warrior asked them to wait for confirmation that he was indeed an irregular, but that wouldn't be necessary. First, the support funds would be increased to 5 billion with the same tax reduction rate. The number of A-rank equipment rentals would be raised to 5, in addition to providing a top-tier hunting vehicle. However, the conditions remain the same with no further concerns. Choi Jun-hyuk seems confused by the whole suspicious situation. Even so, the president tries to understand the reason behind the boy's suspicious look. At that moment, he asked about the hunting vehicle. He wanted to know if it could be arranged for the same day. On the highway, a white vehicle starts accelerating rapidly. A voice announces that it was Daesu, the tanker from the Taebaek Guild. Driving his new car, Jun-hyuk calls the master. The man had informed him that the boy could contact him if he ever needed any kind of help. However, his real goal was to meet with him if possible. Opening the subspace, the 2 arrange the meeting for that very moment. The portal opens and the protagonist places his hand in that powerful energy, stating it would take about 10 minutes to arrive. In his hands, he holds one of the cards trying to understand the setup. Previously, he decided not to sell Kieran's Blessing and Mount Splitting because they were extremely valuable. Instead of exchanging the cards for money, he tried to acquire the abilities, but the action wasn't completed due to user incompatibility. With the gate incident,